Okay, we're doing Hilchas Lulav. Now, we are in Taf Reish Nun Aleph. Okay, just one thing where we left off regarding the bracha. So we said the bracha is al netilat lulav and not al lekichat lulav. So just to add one thing, when we say netila, might be a little more, also it's more meduyak for how we personally are mekayim the mitzvah. Because the way that we need to be mekayim the mitzvah is we lift it up, right? That's the only way you're yotze, is if you physically lift it up. Either a mashahu or a full tefach is preferable, and that's how we do it. But if it has the lashon of lekicha, theoretically, of course, we learn the halachos from there, and we learn that you have to own it. That's more from lachem. But you might think it could be through a kinyan sudar or some other shtar or some other way. But l'maisa, for us to internalize the bracha to the mitzvah the way we do it, it's actually very fitting to have the lashon of netila. Okay, now we are in Seif Yud. Yakif derech yamin benano. When you lift it up to do the mitzvah and you do the nanuim, you go around basically in a circle towards the right. He always goes towards the right. We learned that nanua doesn't just mean a little rattle, shake. It means more really moving it forwards and backwards, or away from you, towards you, holding it towards your heart when you bring it towards you, towards your chest, and then back in each direction. Okay. So the pshat is you go around in a circle. Generally, we always do things towards the right. We turn to the right. So therefore, we start we're davening east. So you start going east. And then you go to the south, and you just keep going around in a perfect circle, around and around and around. Then you're going to so you go, what's it called? So you just keep going around in a circle. You start east, then south, then Mizrach, Darom, Ma'arav, Safon. And then you go to the west, you go to the forward, then you go to the side, to your left side, which is up, which is, right, that's the north. And then you go up and down. Okay, that's the pshat. And now, al pi sod, or based on Spheros or Kabbalah, so then they say basically you go, which is generally by Sfardim, that they go forward. So first you go forwards, and then first you go south. First you start going south to the right, and then the left, and then forward, then up, down, and back. That's that way. Okay. Based on whatever the Spheros are connected from Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, v'chulei. Fine. Yud Aleph. Tzarich lechaber ha'etrog la'lulav bish'at ninul u'naneya b'shneim yachad. Okay, so when you do the mitzvah, so we know that there's a mitzvah of igud, of gathering and combining and tying together with a knot. That's one opinion in the Gemara. We don't hold like that one. What we do is l'noi mitzvah, we do eged, which we learned generally in Chazal, you see kesher al gabi kesher. So that's the igud that we do l'noi mitzvah, and that applies to the three minim, right? But what about the esrog? So the idea is we're supposed to combine them and hold them together. So that is a very fair reading of the pshat of the psukim, but it's not really brought down as a din in the halacha, in the Gemara. But it's brought down in the Rishonim that this is the better way to do it. Is you're supposed to actually bring the esrog together, and some point out, Orach Chaim, others, that they're supposed to be touching lechatchila, and you hold it together. And then in the same thing, when you do the nanuas, you do it together. So what's the source for this? So one source, the Beis Yosef, brings a story from the Kanti who writes, he had a dream, and there was a Rav in the city, and in the dream, the Rav, I think he was visiting with him, and he saw him write down Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And so the Yud, Hey, and then the Vav, he had all together, like we always write. Every letter is right next to the next letter. But the Hey in the dream was much farther apart. So there's a separation between the first three letters and the fourth letter of Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. And he was very disturbed, and he told the guy, how can you write Hashem's name like that? You have to write it like you're supposed to. And he showed him how to write it. Okay. And then he wakes up and he was like, what is this dream? What am I? He didn't understand. He was very puzzled. And then in the morning, it was Sukkot, and he saw this rabbi who was holding the 3 minim in one hand, right? We bind them together, and the other one was nowhere near the other 3. I don't know if they're a separate table, just he probably just didn't put his hands together. Whatever it was, they weren't together. And so then he understood that each of the Daled minim corresponds to a Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. And it's important that we are miyached all of them. So it's about Ichud Hashem. And again, as far as, you can make drashos on this, but every mitzvah that we do really has a pa'ula, has some kind of, in the Ruchnius, miyached Hashem's name, or we do mitzvahs, and that Meila is miyached Hashem's name, however we understand it, but each one is, anyway, so it has to do with Ichud Hashem. The Vilna Gaon in the Gra quotes a very famous Midrash Rabbah from Vayikra, and he says that the Arba Minim, the Midrash says, are connected 4 types of Jews. Right? We've all heard this growing up. The Jew who learns Torah and does Ma'asim Tovim, and then the one who does neither, and then each has one and not the other. And the Midrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want all my children to be Ba'aguda Achas, that everyone should have Achdus. Doesn't matter what kind of a Jew you are, you're from, not from, and that we respect each other, and that we all try and unify each other and be one family. And that's really on Ichud of Klal Yisrael. And of course we know for Ichud Klal Yisrael it also helps with Hashras Hashchina and Igud of Hashem and Hashras Hashchina. Now, at the end of the day though, the Nanuim are really not Me'akev, min Hadin. Even if you just picked it up and didn't do the Nanuim, you're still Yotzei. And it really doesn't really matter which direction. At the end of the day, if you do the Nanua in any order, whether you start up and down or all around, whatever way you want to start, you are still going to be Yotzei. And if you did the Nanua, you still did the Nanua. It's just the minhag of which order to do it in. Okay. Yud Bet. Arba'a minim halalu me'akvin zeh et zeh. Now the 4 minim are me'akev one to another. In other words, she'im chasr lo echad mehem lo yavarich ala she'ar. If you're missing just one of the 4, then you are not, right? If you're just missing any one of the 4, you're not yotzei at all. You didn't do the mitzvah at all. But still, aval notlan lezecher ba'alma. But even, let's say you're in a place and you have no friends who have a lulav or whatever, you can't get a hold of the Arba Minim, you only found 2 or 3 or whatever, 1. Whatever you find, Bein Bayom Rishon, Bein B'Sha'ar Yamim, you still pick it up and it helps remind you for the mitzvah. Poskim point out though, if you have something that's mazuyaf, not an incorrect species, don't take the wrong species, because I'm not sure if there's issues of Baal Tosif, but there's certainly issues of, they say, then you might come to use it, you or someone else might watch you and then come to use the false species, the tzaftzuf or hadas, whatever, and think that that's okay, and then you might use it in the future, right? He used it, obviously, that's all he had, but he used it, that means it worked. So people might, especially if you're a Talmud Chacham, people are going to watch you and learn from you. So they all say, don't take anything that's wrong. Okay. Right? And what we said before, I think it was clear when we said you should hold all the species together, that's really just le mitzvah min ha-muvchar. It's certainly not me'akev, as we're going to see. Or I think we already did see. If you take them separately, you're still yotzei. V'im hayu arba'atan mitzuyin etzlo. Now, if you have all of them in front of you, this is it. Unatalan echad yatza. And you just pick up one at a time, you're still going to be yotzei. So me'ikar din, it's 100%. If you were to pick up one at a time, you said the bracha on the lulav, you put it down, then you pick up the aravos, you put it down, you pick up the hadasim, and then you put it down, you take up the esrog. And you do that, so then you are certainly yotzei 100%. Again, it's not lechatchila, but it was done, and now you are yotzei 100%. Haga ubilvad shiyu kulam lefanav. Now, this only works if they're right in front of you. Now, there is a big discussion in the poskim. What happens if it's in? Does it need to be in the same room, right next to you? Does it have to be in front of you, or it's just everyone's the poskim are saying maybe it just means don't say the bracha if they're not in front of you, because even though you think you have them across the street or next in the same room or next door, but then it's going to be a little bit of a hefsek, or you might get there and it's not there. So it's a discussion if it's actually ma'ak. Is it Lamaisa? There's not really enough kamina. Don't say the bracha to do the mitzvah if it's not right in front of you. But if you did say the bracha, so maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work if it wasn't in front of you. That's a discussion. Okay. V'yitol Lulav tchila v'yivarech al Lulav v'daito gam al acherim. So the best way is, so if you're going to do it one after another, start with the Lulav. V'im sach b'neihem tzarich levarech al kol echad b'fnei atzma. But then he writes, so what if you speak in between taking one and another? Then he says you have to make a bracha on each one. And actually the bracha changes, the Mishnah Berurah writes. You would say al natilas eitz avos, or al natilas arava, or al natilas esrog, for whatever was not said, for whatever you didn't pick up yet. No, so do you need to say a new bracha? So it happens to be a machloket. So the Ramah says, yeah, go ahead, say a new bracha. But some poskim say not to say a new bracha. Again, this is an unusual case for us. Orach Chaim says safek brachos lahakol, and some others as well. Question is, it's all discussion. The question is, we know by Tkiyah Shofar, for example, you can make one bracha, and even if you speak in between, then as long as you say your Tkiyos all day long, you still could be Yotzei, and every time you blow, even for the first 10 or 30, you don't have to say a new bracha. Again, we're not supposed to talk, but okay, if someone did talk, then it still counts. The bracha still holds, right? It's a little similar to when we eat food. You're allowed to talk, and it's a little different, but there you see you're allowed to. So the question is, why should this be different? So that's a machlokas, but there is obviously one difference, just to make it really, it's to help understand clearly why there's definite difference. When it comes to shofar, for example, you're not supposed to blow all 10 sounds, 9, 10, 30, whatever, at the same time. It's supposed to be one after the other. But the idea by lulav, they're supposed to be done at the same time. Again, it could be done separately, but it's supposed to be done at the same time. So that's already one obvious chiluk between the two. Okay. Let's see. Right. Now, if a person said the bracha, Mishnah points out, what happens if you say the bracha, you pick up all four, and then after you do the mitzvah, you realize one of them was pasal. So now what do? So obviously you have to pick up the four again with a new mean, and you have to say a bracha on it, because even though you said a bracha on 3 that were kosher and 1 that was pasal, you didn't do the mitzvah on any of them, because you have to do all of them in order to be yotzei the mitzvah. So then when you take up the new one, and it kind of depends on the case. If you had the other one, maybe it was there in front of you. Okay, it depends. But often you would have to say the whole new bracha from scratch. Okay. Right. And then he says also, and if this happened on the first day, and you weren't yotzei, and you come to say the bracha again on Tilas Lulav, you'd also have to say Shechianu again, because it didn't work. Right? Because really, if you need all 4 of them to be yotzei the mitzvah. Lakicha tama, it's all one mitzvah. Okay, we can go on. Yud Gimel. Im chaser lo echad mi'aminim. What happens if you're missing one of the minim? Oh, it's right here, sorry. Lo yikach min acher bimkomo. Don't take another min that's pasal. Right? Okay. Right, and you're going to end up learning for the future the wrong way. So you just only take a kosher min. Okay. Yodalid. Lo yosif min acher al arba'at haminim mishum bal tosif. Now, another potential isser that one can do by taking one of the non-dalid minim, if you take an extra one, a different one, and you add it to the group, then you have an Isser of Baal Tosif. Now, there is a discussion. It kind of depends if you're, there's a discussion, but basically, if you take an extra mean and you have in mind to do the mitzvah with this extra mean, that's for sure when you're over Baal Tosif, or even Stam, probably. You don't think too much about it, you just take an extra mean and you know you're doing the mitzvah Lulav with an extra mean. But if you have in mind that one of them, that the one that's puzzle is you're doing it lanoi, but certainly not for the mitzvah. You know it's not part of the mitzvah. So then it's probably not Baal Tosif. It's only when you have in mind to do it for the mitzvah. Okay. There's an opinion. Now, what happens if you're, interesting case in the Bir Halacha, he says, what happens if your lulav, it's a kosher lulav, 100%, but you want it to be more green? I mean, this could be with something else as well. Any of the meaning. You want to change the color a little bit. So you take a little paint or marker and you put it on it. So as long as it's really, really thin and it's not, or perhaps even if it's not so thin. So that's when it's, so he brings down the first opinion. It seems to say it's fine. Because it's not a whole nother item. And you're just making it making it more beautiful. And there's really, and it was kosher. It's not where it's dried out completely and it's puzzle and now you want, or you have a puzzle mark on it, chazazit, whatever we learned that's puzzle, and now you want to cover it up. So that you can do it. There's nothing you can do about it unless you're able to remove it without. Okay, we learned all that before, but here it could be that's a great eitzah. He points out what?
It's not recommended. You're not really changing anything.
Well, it might be more hiddur in your eyes. It's a noy mitzvah. So he brings down the Shvus Yaakov that says it's 100% mutter, and then he says the El Yerabah says maybe it's a problem about Tosif, and that's so he leaves it like that. Okay, I'm assuming most wouldn't recommend it, but I don't know.
Even though we said that
Lanoi we know is mutter. You're allowed to do things Lanoi. That's right. Okay. Ted Vav. In fact, that's why we do Eged. And that's why some people do the kosher klachs, even though now your minim aren't even touching anymore. So, okay. Tet Vav. And right, since it's Lanoi, we don't say it's Baal Tosif. Tet Vav. Lo yito yoter milulav echad ve'etrog echad. You're only allowed to take one lulav and only one etrog. That's clear in the halacha. Aval ba'arava ve'hadas mosif ba kol ma sheyirtzeh. But when it comes to hadasim and aravos, you're allowed to add more. You don't have to stick to 2 and 3. You can have as many as you want. Okay, that's what we see the Ikar halacha is so far. And also it's alluded to in the psukim, but it says pre-8s. That sounds a lashon of 1. And kapot tamarim, it's missing the vav. So that's why, with the vav, you would say it's mashma more than 1, exactly. But since it's missing the vav, it's mashma dafka 1. Yeah, okay. And some even say, and if you add to it, it's Baal Tosif. Okay, so we're not going to take more than one of those, that's for sure. But what about the Hadasim and Aravos? So let's keep reading. V'yesh mi sheposa lahaniach hadas shota balulav nosaf al shlosha badin avos v'yesh matirin. Now, can you, in order just for the purpose of noi, can you add on 4 Hadasim, extra Hadasim that are puzzle? Then that's a machlokas. Okay. Some say it's puzzle, it's like adding a min acher, and some say it's not completely a different min, it's just a puzzle, Hadasim, and okay. But it's also, anyways, it's done lanoi, but that's part of the whole discussion. So anyways, we don't do that, that's for sure. And fine. V'medaktakim einam mosifim al shtei aravos ushlosha hadasim avos. And then it's preferable not to add on to them. In particular, I think it's the aravos are more of a question mark, but some say it's even better not to add extra hadasim. Okay. Now what the Bir Halacha does, right? Interesting. Let's say you've got 3 hadasim, and you're really afraid that as you pick them up, and they're going to fall apart. The leaves they're wilting, and as soon as you pick it up, they might fall off. Or you're not sure, there might be puzzle. He says in that case, it's better to take more than 3 hadassim. It'll increase your chances that even if the leaves fall off or something's, you're not sure if, you have, let's say, 4, and all of them have a question mark in halacha. It's better to take 4 than, or more than 3, to increase your chances that even if one is puzzle, the other one is kosher. So that's the case when he says it's actually better to take more than 3 hadassim. But anyways, in general, it's a discussion if it is preferable or not preferable, or allowed or not allowed regarding hadassim and arava, so it's better to avoid it. But depends. Some have the minhag, some people do take extra hadassim. I've never heard of of anything else but hadassim, but there are some who do take extra hadassim in order, and it's just lanoi, and mikar then it's mutter. Tafresh nun bet zman tilas lulav aleph mitzvah lulav bayom v'lo b'layla. So we all know the time to do the mitzvah is during the day. You can't do it at night. Zukachtam lachem b'yom harishan, during the day. V'chol hayom kasher and tilas lulav, and you have all day. Starting from, we're going to see starting from, let's keep reading. She'im lo natal shachris yitilenu acharkach. So if you don't do it in the morning, you can do it in the afternoon. You have all day for the mitzvah. Right? And Mishnah Berurah points out, I think the obvious, if it comes to the whole day passed by, you didn't do the mitzvah, and it's bein hashmashas, so obviously you should do the mitzvah, because it still might be day, right? Why wouldn't you? And he says if it's the first day, you're mechuyev, mamash, to go out of your way to do the mitzvah, even on bein hashmashas, because it's safek d'oraisa, but don't say a bracha once it's bein hashmashas. And the other days, even though it's only d'Rabbanan, it's still easy to do the mitzvah, so you should. Why not? Uzmano, who? No. Umikol makom zrizim magdim mitzvahs unatim moto b'boker. Another, obviously, the best time is to be a zaris with all of our mitzvahs, and to daven early, to do the mitzvah early. And uzmano hu mishetanetza chama. When is the ideal time to start? It's starting from netza chama, from sunrise. Okay. Discussion: how do you view sunrise versus dawn or los hashachar? But is one of it more of the day itself, or Mishnah Berurah just says because we're never sure exactly what time Amud Shachar is. You know if you see the sun or you don't see the sun, but you don't always know exactly what is the halachic dawn. So therefore, Chazal said it's better just to wait for Neitz Hachama. Okay, that's his approach. Uzmanu, we said, Ve'ikar mitzvaso bish'as halal, and the best time to do the mitzvah is halal. Okay, that's the ikar time, because that's when we're giving praise to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we're saying, right?
Does that trump not doing it in the sukkah, not making the bracha in the sukkah?
No, so many say it's better to do it before davening or after davening, before halal, in the sukkah. I think we mentioned that was the Arizal, I think. It's famous for that, but yeah, it could still be the ikr time is in halal, because that's when you're doing all the nanuas and you're davening to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. But you can start the mitzvah before. And we have a similar concept by shofar. You say the first time you do shofar, but we say the ikr shofar is during the Shemona Esrei, and that's why one's miyushav, one's me'umad, but okay. Now, if you need to go on the road, you need to go to work, whatever the issue is, not lo misha'a amud shachar. Misha'Allah amud shachar. Once it's amud shachar, you could already be yotzei, and then you're yotzei 100%. You don't have to do it again. You did it 100%. You do it the bracha. Okay. V'medakdek yechos alula biyado k'shenichnas mibeito lebeit haKnesset gam b'shat hatfila v'chein yachzir lebeito kedei lechabev mitzvos. So this we mentioned earlier, and it's good all day long, or just when you're going to shul, to hold them, all right? But you have to hold it with your hand, not with a bag. Otherwise, you're not makayim the same chibuv mitzvah. And he says even during davening. And normally we say you're not supposed to hold things and do things while you're davening, because it takes away from your kavana. But if you're doing it for the mitzvah, then it doesn't take away your kavana. It's either equal or enhances your kavana. So they say by holding a sitter. So it's mutter because you're doing it for tefillah. And some say there's an Indian of Gaiva, Yuhara, so if, to walk around with it all day or during davening, it's one shouldn't. Okay, we'll stop.